With the Sea of Thieves closed beta having ended, it's time to start talking about the full release and what it needs in order for the game to have longevity and have a long-term success rather than just being a hit as it is right now. Before we dive into these suggested ideas, let me just say that this game has touched me like no other. I haven't felt this passionate about a game since I was in my teens. There is something truly special about Sea of Thieves. It brings everything to the table that we gamers thrive to see in video games.
In folds of midnight waters, side by side, we sons and daughters, we set forth.
The list just goes on and on. Rare has shaped this game into something that has surpassed all of our expectations and quite possibly into the next big standard in the gaming industry. A game that will surely raise the bar for all developers to create better games. And oddly enough, all of this is just based off the closed beta. I can't even imagine how great the full game will be. If you didn't know, the beta was roughly only 20% of the game. Rare limited the beta's content so that the full game will still bring surprises and plenty of more content for its players to enjoy come March 20th. So if you were worried about the game having repetitiveness with the gold hoarder voyages, don't be. The full game will have a variety of different quests, as well as 2 other types of trading companies, which include the Merchant Alliance and the Order of Souls, with each different company having their own reputation and progression system. So there is still plenty more content to look forward to when the full game releases. But in this video I wanted to talk about what could potentially give the game more longevity. Don't get me wrong, I think the game is going to sell very well and have a huge player base, maybe even break records, but these are just some game mechanics and ideas I feel that could keep the game interesting for a longer period of time, going into even as far as the end of 2019. And keep in mind, some of these ideas I'm about to introduce may very well be in the game already. Like I said, Rare has kept most of the full game a secret, but by chance if these ideas aren't in the full game, Rare should definitely consider adding them into the game in future updates. And that brings us to the first thing a Sea of Thieves needs: constant updates to keep the game fresh. Not right away of course, but towards the 3rd or 4th quarter of the year, I'd expect a game like Sea of Thieves to start receiving new updates to add more to the game to keep players interested. And it's very important how Rare does this. A game like Sea of Thieves I feel would die out fast if all future content for the game was paid DLC. That would instantly split the player base and pretty much the concurrent player count would drop dramatically. All DLC and updates for Sea of Thieves should be free. In order for Rare to afford to keep adding content to the game, I feel an in-game store with microtransactions for cosmetic items only that give no in-game advantage would be a lot better than the game having paid DLC. I personally don't like the idea of either one of those options, but unfortunately it costs money to keep adding content to a game. A lot of money. Sea of Thieves is of course not a free game to begin with, but the sales of the game will only pay for so much going forward, assuming Rare will keep supporting the game throughout the year and possibly into 2019. Rare has confirmed in the Microsoft Store under the description for the game that the game will work as a service with fresh content arriving regularly. So that's really good news for the game's future, but I'm really hoping it's all free DLC. Cosmetic microtransactions would be better than paid DLC in my opinion. The player base is more important. I've heard from a good number of people that they are concerned about the game having a lack of substance, but honestly, the game is definitely full of content as is. But the game has so much potential going forward with fresh content updates like the addition of different types of ships, more islands, different enemies, maybe a seasonal progression system with more equipment to buy, and more variety of quests. Rare can definitely do a lot with this game going forward. It's just the matter of whether they choose to or not. Moving on from the future content, let's talk about the game itself, the content that actually matters right now in the full game come March 20th. What do we want to see that the beta didn't have? Well, one thing I'd like to see for sure is larger servers or more players per server. Rare is trying to hit a sweet spot in Sea of Thieves where player encounters feel rare and special. They're trying to balance it to where players see another ship every 20 minutes. But in the beta, from my own experience, I sometimes played for over an hour without seeing one ship. Now, numbers have been thrown around on different articles on exactly how many players were on each server in the beta, but I felt like there were maybe 16 players per server. 4 teams of 4 or 2 teams of 4 and 4 teams of 2, somewhere around there. I feel like 32 player servers would be more of a balanced experience for the game. That's low enough for the players to be able to get voyages completed without having to constantly worry about other teams attacking them, but it's just enough for players to always have to be cautious. The studio head of Rare, Craig Duncan, tweeted out about multiple articles stating the game will have 100 player servers. He went ahead and shut that idea down, stating in his tweet, "Lots of Sea of Thieves articles popping up, hard to keep up, but noticing a few saying 100 players in the world. That is incorrect. We think of Sea of Thieves as a co-op adventure where you encounter other players in the world. Encounter frequency and variety is what is magic about Sea of Thieves. Our vision is you and your crew embarking on adventures adventures together, seeing those ships on the horizon or in the world and knowing they are another crew of real players on their own adventure and not knowing their intent or if they have treasure on board. We dynamically matchmake. It's variable. We add ships, not players, to each instance of the world. If ships leave, we will fill with new ones. If you end up being on your own, we migrate you to another server. It's all very clever. I've talked to press about this in a few interviews this week. I like the idea of dynamic matchmaking, but I'm hoping it's better balanced in the full game. Rare needs to hit that sweet spot where encounters still feel special, but also where there's enough ships to fulfill aggressive players' desire to go out and just be thieves. Another thing I feel that needs work in Sea of Thieves is the player versus player system. Not that it's broken or anything, but it could definitely use some nice touches. Eliminating another player should be much more recognized, with consequences for the player that got eliminated. And by this I mean when you eliminate a player, it should notify you on screen who you eliminated, so in case you snipe someone from far away, you're still able to tell if you actually eliminated them or just got a hit on them. It's hard to see the green smoke effect that happens when you die from far distances, and it takes some skill in order to eliminate another player, so I feel like they need to implement some sort of reward for getting eliminations. Obviously, the reward is that the player you eliminate will not come back into the game for 30 seconds or so, giving you time to steal their treasure, but I feel like an actual reward should take place, like 10 gold or something, and the player that got eliminated should lose 10 gold. Something of that nature would be very satisfying and give more of a motive to attack enemy teams. In addition, I think Rare should add even more to PvP in Sea of Thieves. Something that would be really interesting to see is some sort of bounty system added where players could get hired by one of the trading companies to sink and eliminate a randomly selected team on the server inside a given time frame. A map could be provided giving the general location of the enemy to the bounty hunters, with the enemy team being warned that they now have a bounty on them, and once the bounty hunters sink the ship and eliminate the enemy within the time limit, they could then return to the trading company and collect their reward. Something along those lines would definitely add a twist to the PvP aspect of the game, and I would love to see a bounty system similar to that. This leads into the game needing to have some sort of stat system. It's always nice to look back at your statistics in a game to see what you've accomplished and how many hours you've played. Sea of Thieves definitely needs to record stats including eliminations, treasure chests found including what types, how many ships we've sunk, distance traveled in the game, quests completed, and all that good jazz. A good stat system I feel is almost mandatory in a game like Sea of Thieves, as well as an achievement system which should unlock certain items, skins, or maybe even reward the player with some gold. So what's a pirate game that lets you find treasure but doesn't let you open the chest to see what's inside? This is a very conflicting mechanic in Sea of Thieves which I hope they fix. So I get that with the gold hoarder voyages, you are set out to find treasure chests for the merchant to buy from you. He supplies you with the map to find them, so technically it's his treasure to begin with. So that's cool, you shouldn't open treasure that isn't yours. But treasure chests that we find on islands that aren't buried nor part of the voyages 100% should be able to be opened by the player, and should reward you with whatever's inside, whether it be gold or cosmetic items like clothing for your character or weapon skins. And if you're playing with the team, everyone should be rewarded with the same item that's in the chest. Sea of Thieves could also use more variety of world enemies. The game so far includes skeletons and sharks as the only major type of threat, minus other pirates of course, and the inevitable kraken that will be in the full game. But I feel the enemies are on short supply in Sea of Thieves. I'm really hoping to see a variety of sea and land enemies come release day. Maybe some kind of piranha or killer fish to go along with the spam sharks, and maybe some dangerous wildlife living on certain islands. Another thing that would really give more to Sea of Thieves is having more underwater points of interest. How cool would it be to find a hidden area at the bottom of the sea with tons of treasure? It'd be nice for the ocean to have more of a purpose other than just traveling. Hidden trenches, sunken ships, and caves under the ocean would be an amazing addition to the full game. Maybe even gold hoarder voyages that send you to an underwater location to retrieve chests. Underwater exploration definitely needs to be a thing in Sea of Thieves. Deep sea fishing also needs to be a thing in Sea of Thieves. That would work out perfectly as a fourth trading company. You could purchase quests that have you catch rare fish to bring back for a big reward, and as you progress through the fisherman's company, it can unlock better fishing rods and bigger and more difficult fish to find and catch. Maybe even some fish that require 2 players to pull in together, implementing teamwork in order to catch huge fish. That would definitely be a great thing to have in the game. Rare, make it happen. And lastly, let's talk about customizations. So Sea of Thieves will have ship customizations and a character selection screen. I'm hoping they implement the character customization at the home menu of the game so that we can choose what our character looks like before we jump into a server. Of course, we will be able to change our character's clothing and accessories in-game, but an actual character selection screen would be nice to have in the game's main UI. Now, ship customizations I'm hoping are very in-depth, where we can really make our ship our very own. custom paint jobs, decals, vinyls, maybe text, and of course a variety of custom ship components. Rare should definitely do a lot with ship customizations where players can really express themselves and their playstyle with how their ship looks. I think there should be a ship customization shop at all outposts where players can purchase a variety of ship parts and custom designs. And speaking of customization, unlockable weapon skins would be nice to have as well. So those are all the suggested ideas I have for Sea of Thieves. Having any of them implemented would make the game even greater than it's already going to be. Sea of Thieves is going to be the next big thing in the gaming industry. It will definitely set new standards for future MMOs and other online multiplayer games alike. This game is truly magical and it's going to introduce so many great memories for the community. And I just want to say that the water physics in this game are by far the best we've ever seen in any game. Everything about this game is a smaller part of a bigger whole. Each mechanic tied together is what makes this game special, whether it be the teamwork it takes to control a ship or the humor and laughs this game brings to the table. It all just flows very well together. So thank you Rare and Microsoft for creating a game that will definitely turn into one of the most recognized innovations we've seen in a while. But that's going to do it for this video. I can't wait for Sea of Thieves to release on March 20th, and I'm excited to create more content for this game going forward. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down. And remember to subscribe for more Sea of Thieves content just like this. And other than that, guys, I will catch you in the next video.